Hello, everybody, and welcome to the LFC Transfer Room live stream with myself, Dean, Tom, and Paul. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this Monday evening. Lots of news to get through, plenty of talking points. But before we get into it, please make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and make sure to have your notification bell on for all future streams and videos too, so that you never miss out. But the biggest news of today is that Ruben Amorim, according to David Ornstein, is apparently unlikely to become Liverpool manager, even though it has been the front runner that has been all the news coming out of Portugal until recently. And that particular journalist, I can't remember his surname, but his first name is Pedro, recently said that he is on a private jet to London currently at the moment, where he was meeting with West Ham and Liverpool. However, it seems as if he may have been telling a little bit of a porky with that, as he has not flown for West Ham and Liverpool, but only flown for West Ham. The report initially came out from CNN Portugal, where they said only West Ham. They didn't mention anything about Liverpool. Now, unless this guy has a crystal ball or has an insider source that can still be meeting Liverpool and it's just completely flown under the radar, we're not going to question it. This is the same journalist that said Nunes was coming, even though everybody said he wasn't, but he said Nunes was coming, and was proven right on that, and was proven right in many other things that have come out of Portugal first. So we kind of have to take everything with a pinch of salt it is at the moment. But Tom, I'll throw it over to yourself first. Amorim in or Amorim out? Which way are you currently leaning on what the decision might be towards who the next Liverpool manager is? Do you think it's going to be Amorim, or has today's news sort of put a dent in that for you?
Yeah, I mean, I've always had the gut feeling, for no reason in particular, that I just couldn't see Amorim here somehow. But I think obviously David Ornstein is very reliable. You can't really just take what he says with a pinch of salt. If he's saying it, then kind of got to believe it. Which is sad, because I think out of the remaining candidates, I think he was the outstanding one. Like young, progressive, done very well at his time in Portugal. So it will be disappointing if that news is true, which I do believe Ornstein, so it probably is. But yeah, the remaining candidates do kind of concern me a bit, to be honest. I mean, obviously you've been saying Arne Slot might look a decent fit, but I don't know, it just doesn't excite me. The likes of Mourinho as well. I wouldn't be too against it, but it's just he's not ideal, is he? His football is kind of outdated, and then you got the likes of De Zerbi, where he's kind of the opposite end of the spectrum, where obviously he plays nice football and that, but is he a winner? I don't think he is. So yeah, it's a bit concerning. I do hope Amorim still gets over the line, but today's news is a bit worrying, to be honest.
Yeah, it is. And to be fair, Ornstein has said that FSG was selling LFC, and the rest is history. That's correct. Ornstein also said that Edwards wasn't coming back. He's currently now director of all football operations. So everybody can get things wrong. Everybody can get things right. So I think taking everything with a pinch of salt is probably the best way. Ornstein doesn't, as you said very rightly, Tom, get many things wrong. He seems to have an inside track on an awful lot of things, Liverpool. But if anything, we've learned that Michael Edwards works in silence and works behind a lot of closed doors. So that is one thing to take a look at. We see a lot of people here mentioning about, why are we going for this guy? There's a manager out there that will do the job, said that he never met with us, so leave this guy alone. You also went on to say that, why do we keep talking about it? Said he wants to be at Sporting. Then why is he currently on a flight over to meet West Ham currently at the moment? So there is that too. Paul, we were all kind of in for Amorim. We'd moved off our love story with Xabi Alonso and then rapidly fell in love again with Ruben Amorim. Were you in that crowd that fell in love with Amorim, or did you have sights on somebody else? I know previously you had said that you loved Thomas Frank and his job. Brentford, he's kind of fallen off a little bit, but realistically, was Amorim your top choice out of everybody? And how does the news today sort of affect your thinking on if he'll be the new Liverpool manager?
Well, I always have Thomas Frank in my top 4. But since we heard the news that Xabi Alonso was staying, Amorim was my number 1. As it relates to developments today, I think we should not jump the gun just yet. Even if Liverpool, I don't think Liverpool would make a decision not to offer Amorim the job without, at the very least, having an interview with him. Right? I don't see them just look at a guy like Amorim, who is obviously qualified with what he has achieved over the past couple of years, and just say no without, at the very least, having a word with him. So I think it's a little bit premature to say he's going to West Ham. As it relates to the flight to London, if, as is reported, West Ham send a charter plane for him, then there's nothing wrong in him just meeting with West Ham in London and not Liverpool. Because why would he be talking to Liverpool on a West Ham flight? So it's not like he's going to sign anything today because David Moyes is still a manager. So West Ham is just doing their due diligence. Maybe they may be a little bit more aggressive than Liverpool at the moment, but I am pretty sure that Amorim is not just going to go today, meet with West Ham, and then tomorrow Ornstein replied or tweeting or Xing or whatever it is that he's the manager. So I think we're jumping the gun a bit. I am not so sure that we can just safely say he's not coming to Liverpool. I think we should just wait, because I would be very surprised if we don't hear later on in the week that Amorim is going to meet with Liverpool for at least an interview. So for now, he's still my first choice.
Fair enough. I agree with you. It wouldn't be against it. Sporting Dean don't play until the 28th, which is 6 days away from now. It's very feasible with the flight that was rumoured to have him on board is only landing at 5 o'clock. Very, very easy for us to get representatives down to London to meet him either tomorrow or Wednesday, if that suits him more. There's plenty of time of the day to do that. We see a lot of people in the chat just mentioning about Amorim himself and why we shouldn't be worried about him. But has the news today sort of dented your thoughts on Amorim coming in? And you see here, as Steve mentioned, he won't announce his summer plans till the season's over. And it was myself and yourself having the back and forth, I think, in the chat, or else it was Dan as well, saying about how he's still in with a shout of both the cup and the league, and would need to win the next 2 to 3 games to secure the league. So his mind is very, very set on the league at the moment. Do you think it's still Amorim, as Paul mentioned? We could see later in the week. Oh, he's visited Liverpool too.
Well, it still could be. I'm not as confident as I was probably 24 hours ago, naturally, with the reports coming out. But this is the way that Liverpool do work. It's the downside to the way we work, I should say, with under Edwards. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's all quiet. It's a good in a way, but it's frustrating from a fan's point of view because we don't know anything, which is just uncertainty. And when these type of reports come out, you just assume the worst and the negatives. So it's just a case of wait and see, like Paul said. It could still happen. One thing I do find baffling is this. I still rate him very highly, of course I do. I was firmly on the Amorim bandwagon from day one. But it's baffling that he potentially could go to West Ham after all that, hype to go to West Ham is still a decent side, but you know what I mean? You expect him to go for a better job. Like I say, it could still happen, but it certainly has put a dent in things. When you hear he's unlikely to be preferred candidate, but I don't think anybody knows anything. I think it is firmly under wraps. I know a couple of journalists are saying about this month was crucial for interviews, but we haven't heard of any interviews. We've heard not even a list of any names. We've only heard that about Alonso was on that list, and then obviously he's made his decision. So we literally know about as much as we did for the last few weeks and months. We're just going to have to wait and see. But like I say before, it is a kick in the teeth because we're just hearing negative things all the time at the moment. Just hopefully they got a nice surprise waiting for us and it's not a certain Jose Mourinho.
Oh, thank God. As much as I love that, the character of the man would be absolutely hilarious. However, the football would be dire. It'd be absolutely dire. That's just the way I go about it. And Never Give Up mentions Edward is ready to be bold. Mourinho shows up and convinced he's actually got a chance. Jesus, no, for the love of God, you're talking yourselves into absolute hell here, lads. And I don't think you've noticed how far behind current day football Jose Mourinho is. If this was Mourinho 10 years ago, not a problem. I'd jump at that chance. But Mourinho now, no, I think football has gone by him, unfortunately, at this very moment. But that's not to knock anything that he's done, but it is just one of them things, I'm afraid. As Willem here mentions, shithousery would be hilarious under Mourinho, let's be honest. Yes, it would. It would be absolutely hilarious under Mourinho. I think we'd all laugh at him calling Paul Tierney and Anthony Taylor bald twats and saying that FSG aren't giving him any money and calling everybody out left, right, and centre, throwing bottles at Darwin Núñez for missing a shot or something like that. It'd be comedy gold for a year, but it'd get sour pretty bloody quickly if we weren't winning anything. That's the problem. And to go from Klopp to that, I think is the complete wrong decision, in my own opinion. We see some mentionings here of obviously Thomas Tuchel, and then we mentioned as well, I think I remember someone saying Hansi Flick as well. Tom, out of those two, they seem to be some that are mentioned in our group chat as well quite a lot. Hansi Flick, Thomas Tuchel, Julian Nagelsmann, a lot of managers like that as well. Is there anybody from that sort of a list that would maybe pique your interest? For me personally, I think Tuchel immediately fails the no dickheads rule, but let me know a couple of your thoughts on
it. I do think like for the full manager, you do have to have a lot of like personality about you as well. So I think the thing with like Tuchel and Mourinho is they do bring that character, that aura about them, don't they? Whereas like you have like a Hansi Flick or like De Zerbi or Thomas Frank, they just don't carry that aura that the others do. And I do think that's important, because we do have players now that have big egos. They've won a lot in the game. You need to command that respect the second you walk through the door. And I think obviously, the football's not ideal, but if you go for a Tuchel and Mourinho, the winners, they command that respect because of what they've done. So yeah, for me, I mean, probably unpopular, but Tuchel and Mourinho for me, I would go over like Flick or anyone like that, just because, like I said, they've won. Mourinho, although we're saying he's outdated and that, look at the last 10 years, he's gone back to Chelsea, won the league. He's been Man United's best manager post Fergie. He's took Tottenham to a final which he didn't get to manage, and then a lot of Roma fans think he's very unfairly sacked there, and he won a European trophy. So we're all saying like he's well past it and all that, but if you actually look at what he's done, he's not actually done bad at all at the last few jobs he's been at. So yeah, for me, I'm not as against Mourinho as most people are, and Tuchel, he does kind of give me Klopp vibes a little bit, just like in terms of his personality, the tracky, just a bit of that. He does give Klopp vibes a little bit. So yeah, for me, Tuchel or Mourinho over like Flick or anyone like that. Like I said, just because of the respect they command, and also I don't think they've been as bad as people think. They've still won a lot of trophies in recent years.
Yeah, that's true. See, the only problem that I have with Tuchel myself, and this is just a personal thing, he won the French league, Liga, with PSG. Stevie Wonder could do that. He he's currently and he currently is utterly diabolical in the Bundesliga with Bayern. Bayern, after spending £90 million Great British pounds on Harold Kane, only to go possibly trophyless with Bayern, and that's more so my.
He could win a Champions League though, and he got PSG to the Champions League final, which no one else.
Got them to a final is a very fancy way of saying he lost.
True.
Yeah, true. No manager.
I completely get it. He's done well, and he's won silverware, and he's won in different leagues and everything like that. And he's won leagues 100%. But like Liga and getting PSG to a final, like PSG to a Champions League final, like with their squad, I'd expect it. But it's just Champions League pedigree. We've seen it with Arsenal against Bayern. Just the Champions League is something else, and it is a feather in his cap to get PSG there without a doubt. But then to immediately go and shit the bed with Bayern, I don't think has done him any favors this year whatsoever. I don't know if he'll even have a managerial job next year, unless Man United are stupid enough to take a punt on that, which I think would be hilarious. But Tom, I 100% agree with you that he could. He's a dark horse, but he wouldn't be in my list personally. I just don't think so. It's one of them. And William, you mentioned that Joyce hasn't spoken yet, and then it's not real news. Joyce is Edwards' guy. Well, Joyce also said that Darwin Núñez wasn't coming, and within 24 hours later, we'd him signed. So don't believe everything that you see. Everybody can be wrong and everybody can be right. That's the kind of way that I look at it. How about Zidane? Paul, there's one for you. Would you take Zinedine Zidane as the next Liverpool manager?
Well, that's not going to happen. I don't. From what I've learned, he doesn't speak a word in English, and he has no desire to learn the language. I think this Zidane would not come to Liverpool with a team like Man City and Arsenal, who are big spenders. Zidane's going to take a team where he's the big dog. You know, when he was at Madrid, nobody could compete with Madrid. If he wants a player, he gets a player. That's not going to happen at Liverpool. So I don't see that happening. Plus, I think Zidane is just biding his time, just relaxing until maybe after 2026 when he can take over the French national team, which is just an easy job to do. So that's too far-fetched to even consider. That's not going to happen. After the names that you guys mentioned previously, none of them excite me, to be fair. I mean, I guess Thomas Tuchel will be the best of the lot, but because Hans Flick hasn't done anything, he was a disaster with the German national team, and they have some talent. So, you know, I'm still not yet ready to give up on Amorim, because, you know, if it's a case where he was interviewed by Liverpool and then we hear that he's going to interview with West Ham, then I would be saying, okay, I'd be worried. But I don't see any universe in which Amorim have Liverpool and West Ham as options and choose West Ham. So obviously, if he goes to West Ham, it means because we did not want him. And I don't see a scenario where we say we don't want him without at least talking to him. So I am holding out a little bit of hope that, you know, I'm not sure, is this charter flight a West Ham flight or is it Amorim's flight? Anybody know? Because that would tell us a little bit more.
It's rumored now. I've seen no confirmation of it, but it's rumored to have been chartered by West Ham. I don't know that, and quote me on it. But in either case, as you mentioned earlier, if it's a chartered flight by West Ham, he's obviously going to speak to West Ham, and like it'd be a complete slap in the face with respect to any club to be chartered on a flight for one club and be like, oh, I'm just going to go 2 rooms over and chat to a different Premier League club as well. Cheers for the flight, though, lads. It'd be completely disrespectful.
Right, and what's wrong? You know, he doesn't have to come to Liverpool to talk to Liverpool. Michael Edwards and his team can take a flight to Portugal. That might be even easier. So, of course, we're a little bit concerned because, you know, I've been watching all of sporting games since the last couple of weeks. So I'm kind of invested heavily in Amorim. I've told my buddies that he's our next coach. So, of course, I'll be a little bit disappointed. But you know what? All we can do is just wait and see what's going to happen over the next few days. I guess by the end of this week, we'll have more clarity. So we just have to just take it as it comes.
Yeah, Dean, it is going to be one of them, as you mentioned. It's going to be waiting until the end of the season. And we see a lot of people say, oh, we'll take an interim manager for a year and wait for Xabi Alonso. But that alone just has Jude Bellingham written all over it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it definitely won't go down that route of having a man for one season. We're not turning into Man United or Everton. I'll make a couple of signings, make it the squad my own, and then we'll get somebody else in, repeat the process. It's just madman territory. We want someone for the long haul. Simple as that.
That's exactly
it. But
it is a simple.
I've kind of warmed up to Tuchel. I'm not going to lie. I'm not like I want him. I'm not jumping through the window to go get him now. But just that list of options is getting worse and worse. On paper it really is. Like I say, I'm still behind the Amorim shout. Of course I am. But the only reason I'm kind of warming up to Tuchel just because he's followed Klopp, at Dortmund and did very well at Dortmund. He made them a more attacking side. More goals, they won the league. PSG and Bayern have been poison Chelsea's. I felt a bit sorry for him at Bayern this year. I know it sounds a bit daft when you've got probably the best number 9 in the world in your side, But Eric Dyer's been playing centre-back for him since January. That's terrible in itself. And there's a lot of problems upstairs in Bayern Munich, and then it's a bit of a mini rebuild job as well. It might be a poor option, but if you're going to turn around and say, let's go get Thomas Frank or Gary O'Neill, I like Gary O'Neill, but these are not Liverpool's standard managers. They haven't won anything. They haven't been at a high enough level. It's hard to argue a case for them.
If you haven't won a top European league, the way that I look at it is, if you haven't won a top European league, I don't want you. Simple as that.
Exactly. We don't need the next thing. We don't want someone who's up and coming. I know that's kind of contradictory with Amorim and whatnot, but he's done something remarkable with Sporting, and obviously Alonso was the other option, and we all know what he's done at Bayer Leverkusen. So to go from these two most promising managers to then talk about mid-table managers, or excuse me French, but knobheads, it's a real concern and quite worrying. Tuchel is not that much of a step down in terms of caliber. Yes, okay, he's not the personality of a Liverpool manager. I don't like that. But a lot of ex-players do, as far as I know, admired him and got on with him and worked hard for him at Dortmund and at Chelsea. It just turned a bit sour with select few. I don't know why, and I'm not going to lie. I haven't looked into it that much because I never thought it'd be an option. But the fact he doesn't have a club at the end of the season guaranteed will help. It means we haven't got payout or release clause. That might appeal to the owners. But yeah, it's just one of them. And we're just scrambling around looking for a link and where else would return. It's just a bit of a mess. Like I say, it's the only problem with it being all behind closed doors.
Yeah, it's purely just speculation. It really is. Paul, sorry, I cut across you there. You're about to say something.
Right. The way Michael Edwards, these guys work, they're very professional, because I'm pretty sure that they must have spoken to one or two people already, and we haven't heard anything. I can't believe at this late stage, with the club knowing from November that Klopp is leaving, that they haven't spoken to anyone. And the fact that we haven't heard any leaks about a manager A, manager B, who have at least spoken to Liverpool, it seems it gives me a little bit of comfort. And let's face it, we all were happy when we heard that Michael Edwards was returning to Liverpool. Why? Because we trust the guy. So I guess if we trust the guy, we have to give him space and just understand that we have competent people there to make the decisions, and just be patient. So I guess that's all we can do.
Yeah, it's the toll here mentions, just heard a rumor that the reason Jose was at the game yesterday is to advertise himself for a job. That won't be the Liverpool job. Yeah, you sign on for that. You check Indeed or you go on LinkedIn. That's normally the way that I go about those things. But he also lives in London. He has a house in London. He could very easily have gone over to watch the game purely for the sake of it. I don't. He was at the game, but I wouldn't put an awful lot of water into that argument myself, honestly. But we're going to move on to who has now actually become the bookmakers' favorite, currently at the moment, who is Arne Slot, who is a Dutch manager. But before we get into him, please make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Make sure your notifications are on for all future streams and videos so that you never miss out going forward. We will be live again tomorrow from 7:30 p.m. UK time. We'll then have our Star Stripes and Anfield Lights at 2 a.m. UK time or 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And make sure you're around for Friday's stream this week with myself and a couple of the other lads. There's a bit of a special stream going on Friday this week, so make sure you're around for that and don't miss out on that. So have your notification bell on for all of that. We've nearly 100 people in here at the moment now currently watching. Highest it's been in a while, so please do smash the like button if you can. It really does help out the channel, and it really helps us get more viewers, make better content for you guys, and that's all we really want to do. So thank you so much for everybody that's joined us today on this wonderful Monday evening. But one of the guys that we're going to get into now is Arne Slot, who is currently Fayenoord's manager, who are second in the Eredivisie at the minute, just behind PSV, and Andy Byrne here mentioning that he will be a disaster. I don't think he will, purely because in my limited knowledge, we'll have Diogo Jota, the Slotta, playing for Slot. So it's fine. Look, it'll all work out itself eventually. But the way that Arne Slot actually plays is hilariously similar to how Klopp plays. So in the crash course that I quickly done on his tactics after I seen him become the bookie's favourite. Now, I am not saying I'm an expert on him, but I'm seeing a lot of similarities. So how Arne Slot sets up is a 4-2-3-1. So he plays a double pivot to create spaces in the half space in the midfield and create an overload in the midfield area. He also allows his fullbacks to overlap over the top and move around the two wide forwards to join in the attack. He has then two wide forwards that help in the press and a number 10 in the middle that creates and presses and can also join the attack as another striker as well. The lone striker themselves is meant to be a big physical presence who can be a target man and work through it that way. And if you're starting to notice a couple of things that are matching a little bit here, that is probably why you're thinking maybe they could be comparable, because then when out of possession, they press, but they're very possession-based. They're quite a mixture of the two. And when out of possession, the two wide forwards slot back into the midfield and create a very 4-4-1-1 formation that's very solid defensively. And in build-up, it allows them to play out from the back because they create a massive overload in midfield. It has really, really, really worked well in the Eredivisie, considering Fayenoord won the league last year and are currently second in the league last year. Currently second in the league this year at the moment. But Dean, I'll throw it over to yourself first on this. Based on the description that I've given you, overlapping fullbacks, double pivot in the midfield, wide forwards that press and come back and work in the build-up, and a number 10 that sits in the middle that can work as an attacker, maybe a Dominic Szoboszlai, maybe a Alexi McAllister. It seems that there's an awful lot of similarities between Fayenoord and Liverpool, albeit maybe not on the scale of player skill, but on profile at least.
Yeah, the comparisons are definitely there. Just a quick one. The formation and the tactics are very similar. Is it aggressive? Is it more possession?
It's a bit of both. It's kind of a little column A, column B. So he presses, but tactically presses, if that makes sense. So the number 10 will move forward and join up with the striker and try and sort of box them into a corner. So if the opposing team tries to play out from the back, if they go left or right, the number 10 will step up into the space between the wide forward and the striker. Okay. So let's say, for example, if it was Darwin Núñez up front, Alexi McAllister behind him, and then Mo Salah on the right, if they played it out to their left back, Salah would go to the left back, Núñez would cover the middle, and then McAllister would step up into the half space in the middle and try and box him into the corner. That's how they press when out of possession. And then if the ball goes over them, the wide forwards then fall back and it turns into a 4-4-1-1 sort of a formation. And that also helps them in build up from out of the back themselves. It hardly won anything. He won the league last year. Jesus, he's only been the manager for 2 years, 3 years. He won the league. But that's kind of the tactics and the way they set up. It's very similar to, imagine a meld in pressing and possession like Pep and Klopp. That's probably a massive overstatement, but that's the best way that I can really describe it. They're very possession-based, slow build-up, work the ball up the pitch, but they also can really press when needs to, and especially in tactical situations.
Oh, that's promising. I think we could do with moving towards a more possession-based style. Like a hybrid of both is also ideal. I think it's the way we play, as we all fans know, it's not very sustainable when you're in all competitions. Towards the end of the season, players' legs start falling off, they get knackered, as we've seen at parts of this season already. Another aspect I think will be quite interesting is the fact that Feyenoord have a very, very small budget in comparison to PSV, and the fact he's managed to still compete the way, a bit like how I know Sporting are quite a big club in Portugal.
Do you know what their budget was?
Say again?
Do you know what their budget was? Feyenoord last.
It's like 2 million plus transfers.
10 million including player sales. 10 million euro including player sales.
Yeah, so
what's PSV's budget?
PSV's budget. Oh, PSV's budget would be 5, 6, 7 times that easily. Like they're like, look, I understand everybody's hesitation towards it, and you see obviously Mukhtar here saying that Erik ten Hag won it 3 times at Ajax. Now all United fans want him out. I 100% understand that. And then Williams there here, where are they in the Eredivisie? What competitions is it in? How are they doing? His style means nothing if he ain't top 4 of the league and knocked out of cups. He's currently second in the league this year, 9 points behind PSV, just at the tail end of the season. And he won the league last year. So he has won. And as of last year, the Dutch league has actually moved into one of the top 5 leagues in Europe. So it's not, I think it's top 5 or top 6 leagues in Europe, with the French league actually falling out of favor with everybody. But Tom, given his shoestring budget, and it really is a shoestring budget when you think about it, 10 million including player sales. If he, like we say, profiles are a big thing, and William also mentions in the chat, like his style and his profiles mean nothing if he's not doing anything. But he's won a Dutch league on a very short shoestring budget. You would think, or you would assume, given players of Liverpool's quality and a budget, while we aren't the biggest spenders, we spend an awful lot more than what Fayenoord would do. So you'd think, given a bigger budget, the likes of Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes as his backing, and the fact that he now has a Trent Alexander-Arnold, Mohamed Salah, and Alexi McAllister, and Alisson Becker, the list goes on. Virgil van Dijk as his centre-back and captain, and you'd assume that it would translate and he'd be able to play the same, maybe not the same style, but the profiles seem to be very similar for what he asks of his players.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, like, he has done quite an impressive job, to be fair. Obviously, when you see that budget to win a league is, very impressive. But when you look at the record of Dutch managers, saw comment before, you got like Van Gaal, Ten Hag, Hiddink, De Boer and Koeman. They've not exactly all been hits, have they? Not that you should judge it off that, but it is a bit of a worrying trend. But yeah, I mean, the play style, the record in terms of winning the league is kind of there. He's not really like the biggest sort of profile, like as we were saying before. Does he walk through that door, and does Arne Slot command the respect straight away of like Van Dijk, Salah? I don't know. It's a massive jump from Feyenoord, to Liverpool. I mean, obviously Sporting was for Amorim as well. But yeah, I mean, I think we all have quite limited knowledge on him, really, don't we? But on the face of it, to be fair to him, he does sound like he's done a good job, and he's quite young, I think, as well, in his 40s maybe. So there is a lot of boxes he ticks, I suppose. So yeah, I mean, when you look at the list of candidates, he might not be the worst idea in the world.
No, I think purely for devil's advocate, I think it's actually quite a good choice myself, because just how everything kind of translates over, how he likes his wing backs to press up and overlap and go about it that way, and we have people in here mentioning just why are Liverpool losing out to teams like West Ham and everything like that. Why are Liverpool losing out to teams like West Ham? Are these managers frightened to follow in Klopp's footsteps? And Paul, personally myself, if a manager doesn't have the bottle to come in and try and not follow, but follow the act of Jurgen Klopp and come in and be the manager that follows him, if a manager doesn't have the bottle to do that, I don't particularly want him. Would you be of the same opinion as that?
Absolutely. So that's why this talk about maybe Zabi will come at another time is foolishness. If we offer him the job this time and he says no, I think that's it. We move on to somebody else. As it relates to Slot, whether we get Slot or it's Amorim, any one of these young managers, there's going to be some element of risk. That's something that you can't avoid. And to be fair, I think it's fair to say that the Dutch league is superior to the Portuguese league. And PSV is actually a giant in the Dutch league. I just take a quick look at the standings here, and he has lost just 2 games in the league, so far this year, having played 30. So I think he's doing a reasonable job over there. As I said, I don't know too much about him. I vaguely remember that he was rumored to be coming to Tottenham last year before they signed Big Ange. And at the last minute, he decided to stay. So that may be a feather in his cap, that he didn't jump at the first opportunity. Maybe he wanted to stay another year or so on and get some more experience over there before he comes to the Premier League. So that may be a good thing. So I don't know. And then too, if you look at the numbers, you look at the profile that we're looking for, my guess is that Edwards and his team is looking for a manager that probably match the profile of the players that we currently have in the squad. Because whilst we may be adding a player or two here or there, we're not going to make any wholesale changes to our squad next year. So if it's a case where Amorim style of 3 at the back, whatever the way he plays, if he's demanding that we get 3 or 4 players to match his style, and the club feel like, what, that's too risky, you can probably understand why they may say, you know what, based on the style that Slot plays, based on the style that we want to play, based on the profile of the players that we have, and based on how we think we can succeed in the Premier League, then if they think that Slot is a better candidate, a little bit less risky, for want of a better word, then I can see the logic behind that. So as I said, I have a lot of faith in Michael Edwards and his team. So even though we have our preferences, but most, basically our choices, our preferences are really based on what we see or hear in the media. These guys behind the scenes know a lot more than us. So, even if you look at the transfer market, we want this player, we want that player based on what we see. But these guys do the deep dive, and most times they are right. So, we have our who we want and who we don't want, but at the end of the day, we're all Liverpool supporters. So we will just have to wait and see, and I'm pretty sure we will get behind anybody who is chosen, as long as it's not RDZ.
Yeah, that's true, and you have Steve mentioning here that top class managers don't want to work on FSG's 30 million summer kitty. I mean, they spent 116 million more than that last summer, so I think that's just not true, first of all. And then, Dean, what's mentioned here is FSG are looking to bring in a manager that can work within their business policies, or bring in a manager for footballing. Sorry, are FSG looking to bring in a manager that can work within their business policies, or bring in a manager for footballing reasons to win trophies? Which one do you think it is, or are they both going hand in hand? I think they both go hand in hand. They get more business if they win trophies. So the idea would be to win trophies.
Yeah, it's simple as that. That's how Liverpool runs. It runs in a sustainable way. You've got to be able to provide success as much as you can in the parameters that we provide and the resources that we can provide through the club's earning revenue. Unfortunately, we aren't a Man City or to a lesser extent an Arsenal, where it can throw 150 million at a player and just get away with it. It's just how we've been run under the FSG model. Yes, okay, it doesn't exactly inspire a lot of fans, I understand. We've all sat there frustrated, why couldn't we spend a bit more here and there? Klopp's deserved a bit extra money here and there. It's just unfortunately how we run. We run within the rules. But look how the club's grown over the last 10 years on and off the pitch. You can't really argue against it. It's grown organically and naturally. And the carry on the way it's going. Yes, okay, this summer might be a bit of shake to the foundations, but it'll carry on growing, still competing. So it's hard to argue against it. The fact we've managed to compete with, let's be honest, one club that's cheated the rules and has 115 charges on its back. Let's be honest, we also should be winning this league. It's down to us that we aren't currently top. It's not down to anybody else in my eyes. So it's hard, like I say, once again, it's hard to argue against what we're doing on and off the pitch. So a manager who's got to come in and carry on that philosophy of working in their parameters, of spending sustainably and utilising what we have, that's just the FSG and current Liverpool model.
Yeah, Paul, a bit of a question directed towards yourself. West Ham are willing to pay Amorim's release clause and FSG don't want to pay it. I don't know where you're getting that from, Steve, but let's just say that it is true. There's your ambition from FSG. You noted about ambition from FSG, but realistically, I don't think it has anything to do with that at all myself. What do you think?
No, I disagree. As I said earlier, if Amorim goes to West Ham, it's solely because Liverpool does not think that he is the right guy. Because the release clause is nothing. If Liverpool really wants Amorim, that release clause is nothing. So the fact that they haven't yet interviewed him suggests that probably they aren't as enamored with Amorim as we are, right? So we would not lose out to West Ham. If he goes to West Ham, it's because we were not that interested.
Yeah, that's essentially the way that I think it is. And Tom, something that's mentioned here that I don't think a lot of people have really caught is the amount of backroom staff that's leaving as well. And John mentions it here. Edwards and Hughes have a big job to do with about 40 staff members leaving currently at the moment. So do you believe that's the case as well? Like they have more on their plate maybe than is being let on at the moment, and maybe it just might be maybe interfering with things?
Possibly, yeah. I think like we were saying before, you would like to see a bit more substance to the rumours at this point. There's only a few weeks left till the end of the season, and there's nothing concrete whatsoever, really, is there? And obviously that is going to be concerning to fans when especially when you're replacing a figure such as Jurgen Klopp. You want some sort of reassurance that we're going to be okay, but with life after Klopp. And at the moment, with the list of the candidates and the just nothing in terms of like updates or news or anyone, it is a bit concerning. So yeah, I mean, obviously they do have other stuff on their plate, but it's got to be priority, obviously. And like I said, it is a bit concerning right now. But you just got to hope that hopefully the next few weeks there should be some major developments, because they need to start getting working on the summer transfer window, and they can't exactly do that without identifying a new manager, can they?
Yeah, exactly. Like it's. I personally think that Liverpool operate massively behind closed doors, and I don't think any journalist has an absolute bull's notion currently at the moment that what's going on. Maybe there will be a couple of people out of Portugal that may know the inside scoop with Amorim, but that's why no English source other than Today has mentioned a thing. And Fabrizio Romano has always been annoyed at Liverpool, for lack of a better term, because he gets nothing from us. And in Ornstein's article as well, where he said about it being unlikely to be Liverpool's manager, there was no source, there was nothing. It was purely just a statement in his article that he didn't say if he felt it, he didn't say if he had a source. It just said that it's looking unlikely. We queried him about it, and we haven't received a response back from him in relation to that. So take that with a pinch of salt as well. As we've mentioned, Edwards works behind closed doors. He doesn't leak. His staff doesn't leak. It's one of them that we won't know about until it's like 4 minutes before he's about to sign the deal. That's it. And Electra Dreams, it's not FSG's type purse that puts managers off. It's not. We've spent very well over the past number of years. We sell to buy. Yes, it's a different model than most teams at the moment, but every other team that hasn't abided by that model is now either over the line or flirting the line with FFP at the moment. So realistically, if it's a self-sustaining club, I think FSG have done a pretty bang-up job of it as it is, first of all. But we're going to move on to one of the last topics of the day, and please make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We've just under 100 people in here now at the moment. If you haven't done so already, also make sure you have your notification bell on for all future streams and videos. We'll be live every day from 7:30 p.m. UK time. We have a post-game stream on Wednesday, and then you also have a post-game. We have a post-game stream on Saturday in the afternoon following the West Ham game, the battle for Amorim. But yeah, make sure you're around. Make sure you have all of your notifications on so that you never miss out. So, moving on to possibly, rather than somebody joining us, somebody leaving us, and that is in relation to Barcelona having interest in Lucho, Luis Diaz. Currently, at the moment, that there is concrete interest from Barcelona there, and they would love to have him over. However, FFP is causing them massive problems, and one of their stalwart players that they were looking to offload and maybe fund themselves a little bit more. And Frankie de Jong has suffered a horrific leg injury. That is definitely going to see him out for months and months and months, and has completely torpedoed any sort of a summer move for that player. Tom, with Luis Diaz in possible talks with leaving, there's been rumours about him going to PSG, there's been rumours about Barca, there's been rumours about any multitude of teams and leagues and whatnot. We've said that we wouldn't sell him if he wants, unless he asks to go specifically. But then there's been talks that he said that he wants to stay. And to you, is this very much paper talk to get him a new contract? Paul has said this many times that he just believes all this transfer rumor, paper talk to get him a new contract. Would you be in the same camp as that?
Probably, but the only thing that made me think of was just like with these South American players, they do kind of see the pinnacle as Barcelona and Real Madrid, don't they? I think head of the Premier League, whereas like the likes of maybe African players with see the Premier League as the pinnacle. But like I said, these South Americans, I don't know if it's like the Spanish connection maybe, but they do seem to really idolize Barcelona and Real Madrid. So it wouldn't surprise me that much if Lucho did kind of want a move to Spain if he could get it. So yeah, I do think he's replaceable though. I mean, he's been a lot better obviously lately. He had a tough start to the season, but I still think he's lacking that output really that we need to win titles. I don't think he's he's a great option, but I don't think he's someone we can't replace if he was to go. But I would offer him a new contract. He's still a decent age, still got a few good years left in him. But like I said, there has been quite concrete rumours about this Barcelona thing, and just as I mentioned about the South American heritage, it maybe wouldn't be the biggest surprise if he did want that move. And yeah, maybe we could look at someone like Leao to replace him a few years younger and arguably a bit of a better output too.
I mean, we need a lot of money to get Rafael Leao.
Yeah.
Jesus. It's 120. It's 150 million euro release clause or something like that. It's absolutely madness. Dean, we see a lot of people here saying 60 million, 80 million. Barcelona are broke. The language and the weather, 120 million if he wants to go. Are you in the same league as Paul and Tom of being like, offer him a new contract? With the emergence of Cody Gakpo kind of at that left winger position and how he's kind of come into his own a good bit, is he somebody that you wouldn't be the most upset with if we were to lose him in the summer?
Yeah, I'm kind of on the fence on this one. I'm happy for him to stay, but I wouldn't be the most upset for him if he was to leave. If we got like a 70 mil offer, got double your money back, I'm at happy days. He's 27, coming on to 28. Yeah, okay, that's not old in football terms. That's coming into his prime, but his output has been, as we know, inconsistent. He's had his problems off the pitch, of course he has, and he's had his injuries. And I do think that was probably why we consider someone that did offer the money. But the problem is nobody has the money where he wants to go. Real Madrid don't want him. Barcelona, we still got no money. Atletico haven't probably got that funds available either. So unless he wants to go to France, which probably not, I don't probably see that. I can't really see it happening. But personally, if someone did offer the money, I'd be letting him go because I don't feel like his statistics, attacking-wise, are scalable. I feel like you can't see where it's going to go. It's very up and down for the reasons we've already discussed. But whereas Gakpo's younger, yes, okay, he's frustrated us a few times this season, but when he has played in his natural position, he has played a lot better, played quite well against Fulham as well. I've got more confidence going forward that his numbers will go up. I haven't got confidence that Diaz's will. I think he'll have a few patches where he plays really well, like the Man City game where he gets past anybody, but his end product is so poor sometimes. It frustrates the life out of me. But I feel like he's one of the most exciting players on the ball. It's just how you look at it and what the new manager would want. But personally, if you offered me the money, I'm taking it.
It's an interesting thing that you mentioned there in relation to his numbers. Paul, would you be of the same opinion that is like you're of the opinion that obviously all this talk is for Diaz to get a new contract, and we've had Tom mentioned that they'd give him a new contract, but Dean also mentioned a great point in relation to his numbers seem to have plateaued. Whereas, like, while Diaz is now here, Gakpo is on the rise, and he could very easily overpass him on the potential scale. With Gakpo in his more natural position on that left wing, do you see a better future for him there, or do you see Diaz taking another step, or have we found Diaz's ceiling currently at the moment?
If you, in terms of just natural ability, I think Diaz is more talented than Cody Gakpo. But as humans, we tend to perform better when we are happy, when we are contented. And it's no secret that he's not happy with his contract. His contract expires in 2027. And when you look at all the he's on about 50 or 55,000 a week. When you look at all the players that were signed after him, Gavin Birch and Maka is on 150. Darwin is at 140. Who else? Cody is at 120. Soboslai 120. So everybody that has been signed since we signed Lucho is at 100 plus. And remember that these guys come from poor background. They have big families to support, and they have a very short span in their life to earn the big bucks. And he's in his prime right now at 27. So there's no doubt in my mind that he has his agent feeding him this information. And I don't think it's unreasonable. So that is why I firmly believe that he's not very happy because of his contract situation. So I wouldn't say extend his contract in terms of years, but if we're going to keep him, I think he needs a pay rise, because then you would get the best out of him. If he's happy, if you go to him and say, okay, Lucho, we are going to give you an increase to match some of these guys, but we need this output from you. I think that's the best way for everybody to be happy. But having said that, if we get a big offer for him, I would not be unhappy if he goes either. Because one, he's 27. And if you look at Cody and all those guys, they are quite younger. Rafael, even if we pay 120 for him, he's like 22, 23 or somewhere there. And if he's going to leave, naturally, you're going to get a bigger salary increase wherever he's going. So it could be a case where it works out for everybody. But I still strongly believe that money is a part of the issue here. And there's no way around it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. It's been shown so many times, and it's in every other sport as well, that when a player isn't happy with their contract, their rumours will start circulating about them leaving, and it all comes down to just the bottom line at the end of the day. And we've Christian Dawid here mentioning Diaz doesn't give you any goals or assists. He's nearly 20 goal contributions this season alone. So I think that kind of blows that argument out the water. It is one of them. I think you're completely right, Paul. I think it's just a lot of paper talk. But at the same time, as you said, with your last point, which was really interesting, was there could be a way where everybody wins, and that Diaz gets sold, we get money, and he gets a massive pay increase wherever he ends up going, maybe up on 200k. Seen El Hero here mentioned 170k. I think that's a bit steep in my own assumption myself. I don't see how him earning Thiago's wage is a bit much now. What would you think his new contract should be? Do you think it's as you said, we need if they double it and give him 110, 120 a week, he needs to improve his output. Yeah, and as I said, I've looked at the thing recently, but I'm a Liverpool fan, so I look at the pay, the salary for these guys, what they're doing, their output, etc. And everybody that was signed after Lucho is over 100. The lowest I think is 120. Soboslai is at 120. Gavin Birch is at 150, but we inherit his contract from Bayern, so we couldn't pay him any less. So I think if we double his contract to 110, that's more than fair. No, I completely agree with you. Tom, would you be in the same sort of a thought process as that? Double his contract and just say, like Steve here mentions a great thing, to improve his goals ratio. Give him 25k a goal and assist every game, all of a sudden go
that
about
will make him
that.
selfish. You can't do that.
But would you not think, Paul, that may incentivize him? No.
No, you see, when you for team sport, it's usually counterproductive and dangerous to offer certain players incentives. You have to have team incentive, because if you say to me, for every goal you're gonna get 25k or whatever the number is, why would I pass to you when I think I can score? Why would I not want to take every free kick and a penalty or whatever it is? For team sport, you just can't do that. But at the same time, you cannot have Darwin Núñez at 140 a week and Luis Diaz and 50. It just.
No, I completely agree.
Mm,
Would you be in the same ballpark as that, Tom, of double his salary and just say, look, we need you to output a little bit more now. You're in your prime. You've Cody Gakpo coming behind you. Time to put your money where your mouth is now. We've paid you. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, I think he does deserve. Obviously, he deserves more than 50k. No matter what his output is, to be honest. He still brings a lot to the side with his work rate, his creativity. Beats a man well. So yeah, I mean, and then you got the likes of Gravenberg obviously earning, like what was it, 140 or whatever. Núñez, quite a few underperforming players are earning hefty amounts. So yeah, I think he does deserve it. We do need him to up his output. If we're going to be a team to consistently win titles, he does need to start delivering that. And whether he will at this age, I'm not too sure, to be honest. But yeah, in terms of the contract, he definitely warrants it. At least 100 grand a week especially when you're considering, what other players are earning.
Yeah, exactly. And Dean, just to the final point of it before we finish up, we have a lot of players that will be leaving in the summer in relation to their contracts just flowing out. We have Thiago, who's on 200k a week, which equates to about 10.4 million a year. We have Adrian, who's on 60k a week. How, I don't know, but that equates to about 4 or 5 million a year. We then have it's not 4 or 5 million. That math doesn't work out. It's about 3 or 4 million a year. And then we have Joel Matip, who's probably not going to get re-signed again. I don't think he's going to be kept around. He's on a couple of tens of thousands a week as well, which is another 4 million there. You could easily get 20 million a year out of 4 players that are let go in it, along with maybe the likes of selling a player like Kelleher, who may go in the summer as well. There's a lot of money that's going to be about and floating about for us to be able to play around with in the summertime, both with new contract signings for the likes of maybe Mo Salah, if he's not sold, maybe Van Dijk, maybe Trent is obviously getting a new contract as well. There's going to be a lot of money flying around in the summer contracts-wise. Do you see that being focused more on transfers, or do you see the savings that were going to be made pumped back into the players that we have currently at the moment?
It could be a bit of both. It's definitely going to be an intriguing subject, especially in regards to Salah. Salah, for me, could be one of the ones that could be let go if a good offer comes in. As much as it's up to another time, another discussion to be had in regards to that.
Well, that's another 18 million a year saved straight away with his salary.
But you could get a hefty transfer fee along with that as well. But obviously, you got Van Dijk. Trent's probably the most important one. Then Van Dijk, in my eyes. You could see a few of the loanees get moved on as well. Your Mortons, your Carvalhos, all these things have got to be factored in. So there's money is going to be available. It's going to be there for whether it is going to be the new deals or a transfer kitty for the new manager. It's definitely going to be an intriguing summer for their manager coming in to assess the squad first of all, and then go from there. But I think some big decisions are going to have to be made by Edwards and Hughes in regards to contracts. I think if any offers come in, especially with these players, bar Trent, are going to be in the 30s.
I agree.
Yeah, well, we all know that we're all big on resale value in regards to the model we're on. So it's definitely an intriguing time. It's a scary time at the same time, but it's definitely intriguing.
I agree. And if you look at the numbers too, if you forget about sales for the moment, Matip is 100 a week. Thiago is 200 a week. So that's 300 there. If Salah goes, That's another 350 a week. So those 3 players, you are saving 650K a week. That's a lot of money that can be allocated elsewhere. So if those 3 players go, and then you add, I don't know, 70, 80 million that you get for selling Salah, because the other 2 will go on a free. I don't see any player out there that Liverpool would not be able to afford if they really want that player. So to me, I would move on those 3 players and just, you know what, let's spend some money, let's revamp the team, and let's go and win some trophies.
Champions League money's there going to be as well. That's another
Yeah.
massive factor. Another
Yeah.
40 million minimum.
Right. 650 a week, you're saving off the
easily.
payroll.
With every win. Like realistically, it's absolute madness, the money that's here. Like if you look at it, if Salah goes, that's 18.2 million a year it's saved. Thiago is 10.4 million. And you have the likes of Adrian, who's just over 3 million. And then it's
Matip.
You're going to get money for the players. Matip as well, he's here just over 5 million a year. So realistically, even if you pick 3 players there, in Thiago, Matip, and where is he gone? Adrian here. That's nearly 20 million pounds a year. And then she'll throw Salah on top of that. I'm sure that's another, that's 40 million quid a year saved in salary alone. That's massive money that could be saved around the place. For anybody wondering, anything with a green tick beside it has been verified. Anything without a green tick beside it has not been verified. So Gravenberch on the 150 and McAllister on the 150 isn't necessarily correct on that. So
how much is Lucho on? 55?
55.
It's madness to think that Adrian is making more than Lucho.
Yeah, it is. Right, guys, we better finish up here. It's just gone over time. Thank you guys so much for watching us this evening. If you haven't already done so, please do like and subscribe. If you haven't already done so, it really helps out the channel. Thank you so much for watching. And for myself, Dean, Tom, and Paul, I hope everybody has a wonderful Monday evening. Thank you so much, and bye-bye.